Hello everyone, welcome to the Chub. I'm Evan.
I'm Isaac.
Jeremy.
And we're going to talk about Blade Runner today. We just watched it.
This is fantastic.
What do we all think of it?
Revel in its time.
Revel in its time?
Well, it was definitely it was a take on like a 50s noir cop film, detective film specifically. I liked that. Kind of. It could have used a little more action and a little less Harrison Ford
faces.
What's
the
word
narration?
I'm looking for?
Narration?
Oh.
Brooding.
Oh,
a
brooding,
little less
yeah, okay.
brooding from Harrison Ford.
Yeah, I can see that. Fair criticisms.
Yeah.
I still love the movie.
Plot-wise, it was good. It had a good directed plot. It got from point A to point B. It just took a very predictable, unexciting route to get there. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if by unexciting you mean like it dragged on.
It did. It dragged on.
I can see that. It definitely dragged on.
In a movie like that, you have to have action between point A and point B. It can't just be this 80s synth sax, overtone.
The score.
Let's just talk about scores in the 80s in general.
Lots of saxophones.
The synthesizer should have died in 1980.
This movie's allowed to have that though because it's supposed to be synth cyber
But I didn't even get a cyber aspect from it. Like, think about, what about it was cyber? Because the replicants weren't robots. They were living organisms. They were genetically modified organisms.
Well, they were kind of like android-ish.
Yeah, they're like cyborgs.
Only in personality.
No, they're not cyborgs, they're androids.
Well, there's living parts and then there's mechanical parts.
Yeah.
I did not get the impression that there was anything mechanical about them.
Cyborg, I believe, means mostly robot and partially.
As far as I know, it's a fusion between something that is mechanical and organic. I could be wrong,
okay,
but
so
that's
they
my
are more
understanding.
cyborg than, if that is the definition of cyborg, then they are more cyborg than android.
Yeah.
Because I guess
But where did we
androids
get that
are all
indication?
synthetic.
I did not get that indication that any part of them was cybernetic.
What? I mean, they were cybernetically enhanced
But
because they were strong.
But you can do that through genetic modification too. Just because they have superhuman strength doesn't mean that they automatically have to have something mechanical about them.
Well, they were manufactured essentially.
They're humanoid robots.
I just didn't get the robot part. I thought they were just genetically modified humans that had specific genes that gave them specific abilities.
I mean, I suppose that is one way of looking at it, but they were created in a lab. They went to all those different people, like the guy who made the eyes and the guy who
right, but
did their
John
genetic
Sebastian was
programming.
a genetic engineer. He
Yeah,
even said that.
And they need that for the replicants to work. Tyrell said their motto is more human than human. So they're still created in a lab. They have a factory where they
put
everything together like a car.
But I don't know where the mechanical aspect of that comes from. I did not get that if they alluded to it in the movie, I did not pick up on it.
I mean, I think it's just because they're machines and they only have a very short temporary lifespan that they were breaking down.
But that could be genetically modified too.
They didn't work that hard to establish what the replicants are specifically, because I don't think
that was mostly in the opening text.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily that important.
Yeah.
Fair.
Because it's not important. It's important the story that they tell using the replicants that they. It was
a well organized story. It didn't go off on any, tangent or any one point that it didn't really need to go off into. But it just didn't. There was no excitement in the middle. 3 people got shot, and that's it.
I mean, yeah, it's. I guess pacing is your issue.
It wasn't even poorly paced. There just wasn't anything that happened other than minor dialogue. I guess most of the rising action was built through dialogue and not through action.
So you don't like mostly expositional movies?
Correct. I think it's just
dialogue.
that's very difficult to grab somebody's attention for 2 hours doing just that.
I mean, the emphasis was definitely more on like the concept and what they were dealing with, and less on like the spectacle. But there is a lot of spectacle in the movie.
I would argue the emphasis is more on the spectacle of like the visuals.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of visuals there, and it's very important to sell the illusion of it being a dystopian, I guess 2019 like future.
Yeah.
Because when the movie came out, that would have been roughly 30 years in the future. So they needed good visual effects to sell that illusion, to establish that you are in, Los Angeles 2019. This is the world that you're in. Like, when you're watching the movie, at least for me, I never question, like, oh, this looks like a movie. Like, this is just that world. But I think the visual design doesn't mean that it's spectacle. Like, a spectacle to me is like something that is meant to like dazzle you and make you just like kind of think only about that, like a fireworks display. Well, this movie isn't
portions of the beginning opening sequence like kind of.
Yeah, I mean a little bit. I mean there's a lot of establishing shots of like, hey, we got some really bitchin' special effects here, and we got some really like they're really great. They hold up so well.
Yeah.
But this movie isn't a fireworks display.
No,
it's like a campfire. You tell stories around the campfire.
I think
the story's
you can
more
have
interesting than the campfire.
I think you can have that. To your point of it not being as exciting as you'd want it.
I just feel like it needed. So the primary objective of the movie, the conflict, if you will, is Harrison Ford's character has to hunt down these 5 replicants. There's no. One of them needed like a chase scene or an extensive fight scene or something leading up to them just getting shot. I mean, there was the baby chase scene outside of after he got the first chick, but it was very drab. It was.
I mean, I would argue at the end when it's just Decker and Roy Batty.
I would say that was like
a suspense kind of.
If you have levels, like a decibel level on the excitement, like the rest of it was kind of just down here.
Yeah.
And then it kind of just went, and then came back down.
Yeah.
And that was the excitement at the end of the movie.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely big on story and ideas.
And atmosphere.
Yeah.
Very much so, but not so much action or anything like that.
So I feel like this is an interesting dynamic of our group because I think you guys pay more attention to a lot more attention to the artistic aspect of things, and I'm very much like I am with anything else, is like I'm a casual viewer. So if I'm speaking of from the point of view of the casual viewer, I would say that I had a hard time paying attention after about like the first hour and a half. Like the last 30 minutes were hard to sit through.
I can see that. I think that probably is one of the reasons that nobody saw Blade Runner 2049, because they heard that Blade Runner 2049 was coming out. They knew it was a sequel. They watched this and they were probably like, well, this isn't the kind of movie I'm interested in. It's not a Marvel movie that's, bombastic and exciting for every second of the movie,
and that's a good point, because it's a good movie. I mean, it tells a story well. It doesn't go off topic too much throughout the course of it. But if I watched that today and we weren't going to watch the second one eventually next week, I would not go out of my way to watch the sequel of that movie.
I mean, I don't blame you if it's not a casual moviegoer movie.
Yeah, and I think that
as much as it might want to seem like it is, it's too, I guess I want to say, not artistic.
I was thinking intellectual.
Intellectual is a very good way to put it. You have to think about the things that are going on and the things that are being said.
Every shot has a point
and it's
it.
Yeah, and it's not like, oh, you have to think about it this way to understand the underlying meaning or anything
That's what
like
they
that.
do with the fucking other cuts of the movie. We watched the international theatrical cut.
Yes.
We did not watch the final cut or the director's cut or the American theatrical cut.
I found out there's actually 7 versions of this movie. I did not know that. I thought there was only 5.
That's a lot.
So what are the other ones?
There's a work print version.
What the fuck is that?
Well, so I think the director's cut was assembled using the work print version, but the work print has some basically they found extra footage in a dumpster one day, and then that's literally what happened. Somebody was digging through the trash at
so
the
shitty.
studio, and they found this footage, and well, that's interesting. I don't remember
Blade
that in the
Runner.
movie.
I think I could cut that in somewhere and add some more context to the film.
No, it's weird, but so then they took those bits of film and tried to stitch it back into the movie and created the work print. And or I don't know exactly if that was how it was done, but there was a work print that I believe the director's cut was then assembled from. And the only one, at least according to what I read, the only version that Ridley Scott maintained complete creative control over was the final cut, which was released on the 25th anniversary of the movie.
Now, have you seen that cut?
Yeah, I have.
What do you think that does for the movie?
So I think it's a slightly better version of it, mostly because it doesn't have the narration, but it also has some of those Ridley Scott things that he introduced after the fact.
So
it
there's
has
no narration at all.
Why didn't you watch that version
think
of the movie?
So that, I think, would be a selling point. As much as I love Harrison Ford as an actor,
We haven't really talked about the narration much.
He's
Yeah,
not.
no, the
I mean,
narration
well, this is a good
was
segment.
not very good. It's very phoned in. I think they came up with it at the last second. I don't think it was in the original script. It was probably a studio executive saying, well, I think the audience is going to need somebody to explain what's happening to the stupid viewers.
I
And
agree.
then
Yeah,
Harrison
absolutely.
Ford's like, really?
Yeah,
Well,
you can,
I don't
you
think
can-
that's a good
you can
idea. But,
you can very much
know.
hear this wasn't in my contract.
Yeah.
And his
Oh,
voice-
definitely.
He probably recorded it like this the whole time.
There was, to your point of being a casual moviegoer and movie viewer, I would agree that the audience probably needed some Harrison Ford narration to stay awake.
Absolutely.
Because there are long portions of this movie that are just atmosphere.
Development, kind of.
Visual development.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I mean, it's, like I said before, it's not really a casual viewer's movie.
It's big on ideas, not big on action.
It's not Star Wars.
Well, I don't even think Star Wars is a very good casual viewer movie. At least not outside of the original trilogy.
That's what I was referring to.
Well, yeah.
This came out around Star Wars, so...
Yeah, a few years after the original.
Yeah.
2 years after the
Blade Runner
Empire.
came out between Empire and Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Did this, blow up in the box office?
It was not very successful, I don't think, but the year that it came out in 1982 was one of the best years of cinema, ever. There are so many great movies that came out in 1982.
Like what?
So... I want to say E.T. Yeah, I think E.T. came out that year.
Oh, a lot of sci-fi.
Star Trek: The Wrath of Khan came
What
out that
about
year.
Close Encounters? What year did that come out?
That came out in 1977, same year Star Wars did.
Gotcha.
I don't know. I mean, there's just a huge list of movies that came out that year. I want to say Dragon Slayer came out that year, and that was a very big, medieval fantasy movie. That's the best dragon in any movie you'll ever see.
What the hell is that movie?
Dragon Slayer, it's really great. I just
Better
watched it
than
recently.
the dog dragon from Neverending Story?
Yes.
Is it
way
better than... What's the movie with Sean Connery is the dragon? The Last Dragon.
I have never seen that movie.
There's a movie called The Last Dragon where Sean Connery is the voice of a dragon and they give the dragon lips that talk.
I'm certain it's better than that.
Did you know Gary Oldman voices one of the dragons in Spyro?
Which one?
The original.
There was dialogue in that movie?
Yeah.
Spoken dialogue?
Yes.
So wait, there was a
Or
Spyro movie?
Game.
I was gonna say, hold on.
Game. Yep.
Hold on.
Game.
We got on dragon.
I misspoke. But yeah, this I love this movie. because I like the direction. I like that it's a noir, cyberpunk. Not thriller. I'd say suspense.
Suspense, like kind of mystery.
I think this movie, if it was made now, would have been better than it was back then, because I think we have a more realistic understanding of what things might look like 30 years from now.
Well, you see that in Blade Runner 2049 is
A little bit more.
is a bit of this movie and a bit
I really hope that
of
in
modern
1982 they did
Modern,
not think
yeah.
that was what 2019 was going to look
no.
like.
It was supposed to be a dystopian.
Yeah.
Well, it's also actually based off of a novel.
Philip K. Dick.
Yeah, it's what that guy thought the future might look like.
Gotcha.
And so Ridley Scott tried to translate that into movie form.
He had a lot of thoughts in the future. Have you ever seen True Lies? Didn't he do that one as well?
True Lies? No.
No.
That was James
I'm thinking
Cameron.
of
Minority Report.
not
right?
that one. He did that one too. That's a good movie.
Or are you
should
thinking
watch
of
that.
Total Recall?
Total Recall?
Okay,
That's
okay.
what I was thinking
Total
of.
Recall.
Total Recall.
Total Recall, yeah, baby.
Total Recall with Arnold.
Arnold.
Which one
Yeah.
is the
Who
Total
was also in
Recall
True
episode?
Lies.
Total Recall, I think, is the one with all the parasites in the house.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Not the best one, but
A very good one.
yeah. Wasn't my favorite, but I digress.
Total Recall was it good? Was it a good movie?
I haven't seen it.
I would classify it as a pretty decent movie. I don't know if... I mean, yeah, it's not bad, for sure. It's just got a lot of really, like, goofy stuff, kind of.
Oh, is that the one where he goes outside and explodes at the end?
Yes.
Prosthetics.
So you've seen RoboCop, right?
Yes.
So I'm pretty
Yes.
sure the same guy who directed RoboCop did Total Recall.
Oh, so it's very gory.
In parts, yeah.
Because RoboCop is fucking gory.
I
Yeah.
think this movie could use some gore.
I'm pretty sure it's the same guy. I think Paul Verhoeven did both of those
It
movies.
could have used a little bit more work in the editing department. I think that there were a few little things we picked on here and there, like the desync of the ADR.
They fixed that in the later versions. I think in like the I know in the final cut it's fixed. They did
that's
some stuff.
beside the point. This
Yeah.
movie came out and that was like what was given to you. It's like
Yeah.
the issue with Cyberpunk right now.
Uh-huh.
Like we'll patch it later.
Yeah, well,
but in this regard, it's a movie and. That you can't just release a patch for a movie.
Somebody proofread that.
actually you
Like,
can. It's
yeah,
called,
yeah.
It's called the 25th anniversary edition.
Well,
That's
yeah, you have to
called
wait
the patch.
25 years to get that fucking
they,
audio sync.
They should have done a better job, but it was probably once again a post decision, or it could have been like, oh shit, we lost the audio for that day. What do we do?
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's go back to the script. Let's re-record what it was, and it could be they did verbatim what was in the script, and it might have been different from what they shot that day because maybe they decided to change it up. Anything could have happened, but they should have been more careful with that. I do
Absolutely,
agree.
yeah. It was very jarring.
Mhm.
It was because I was like, I don't know what it is about movies, but I think it's that you can see them talking to each other, and when it's desynced, it just throws you off a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely pulls you out of the moment. You're like, oh, I am watching a movie.
Yeah.
What about the scene? What about the scene at the end of the minor chase scene where he shoots that chick? She has a gaping wound.
That was
on her
another
And
editing.
the very next frame, the wound.
That was
is
another
just, like,
editing.
gone.
And okay, so
Snafu.
that whole scene where Zora's getting shot, it's very clearly a stunt actor and not her.
Mm-hmm.
And so that and there's even a couple of frames where you can actually see the stunt actor holding the detonator for the squib.
You can
and
see that
like
'cause
the whole thing.
After her
gosh.
first fall,
Uh-huh.
she's getting back up, and she has this hand pressed flat against the ground, and this one is in a fist
Yes.
like this.
Uh-huh.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah, she has the squib pack in her hand to do the thing.
Gotcha.
So-
It's
yeah.
movie stuff. It's movie stuff.
Mhm.
This is the 80s.
It's the
This is
80s,
a
yeah.
very, in my opinion, technologically advanced movie as far as
For its time, yeah.
for
That-
fucking 82.
I'm not
like
knocking
yeah.
it then, yeah.
all these
yeah.
miniatures and how they made this look like a real place relatively without using a lot of CGI and designing like the set designs in this movie were awesome.
Oh yeah,
it was beautiful.
They made it feel like a very lived-in world.
Absolutely.
It wasn't just, oh, we built this movie set and we put some props and sprayed some water on it. It's like, no, this is a real world.
For as many like editing issues, like the two that we mentioned, like there's so much other shit that just kind of pushes that to the side for me.
Yeah.
Like, granted, you said the story was kind of drab and
it wasn't even drab.
Not the story, but the
telling of the story just needed a little spice.
It was
spicy meatball.
It was that world for me that pulls me into Blade Runner and makes me go, I fucking love this movie.
I mean, the world is great. I mean, like the setting is very well done, but it's an attention thing. Yeah. It's keeping the attention of people who aren't going to sit there and analyze certain parts of it. Yeah.
Well, Ridley Scott is a very
He's an interesting.
He's a
guy.
Very Ridley Scott man.
Yeah.
There's nobody like him.
You can't compare him.
There's nobody like him.
He's so and so. He's Ridley Scott.
He's an interesting man.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a good track record as far as like directing goes.
Yeah, he's made some very influential movies.
Yeah. People still like use Alien as a base for a lot of horror movies and tropes used in.
It's a fantastic movie.
It absolutely
it's iconic.
Yeah.
I would say that like Alien though is far more iconic than Blade Runner.
I would agree.
I would say they're both equally influential, but for like different reasons.
I don't know about influential.
I think Alien is more recognizable. Like you can more clearly say, "Oh, this property was influenced by the movie Alien." But I think
it just
in like the
reaches
last
a bigger
several years, though,
audience.
I think Blade Runner has become more and more like recognizable as an influence because cyberpunk stuff has slowly become more and more popular, and I think it's kind of coming to a climax like now, and there's really just a huge resurgence in like 80s like nostalgia during this time period, and Blade Runner is a very big part of that, I think.
Yeah,
it very much. This is kind of out there, but it very much reminded me of in Fallout 4 when you play the Nick Valentine quest.
Yes,
like the original.
I think this is.
It had
inspired that character.
Honestly, so if you took Harrison Ford's character from Blade Runner and put an Indiana Jones hat on him, but made him a full-on like robot from like maybe the movie I, Robot from 2003. If you did those three things, you would have Nick Valentine.
You would have Nick Valentine.
That is 100% who Nick Valentine is. He was about the only companion I liked.
I agree.
Yeah,
we can get into that.
Harrison Ford did a pretty good job. He actually acted in one scene, which was crazy because normally he's just Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
Like you get what you get. He's charming.
I'm here to make sure you're not being exploited.
I was impressed. He was actually like playing a character.
He did something other than his normal voice.
Yeah.
Which was very weird.
It was very weird, but I mean, I thought he sold that he was a
nerdy
reporter guy.
He didn't come off as a cop, so to speak.
No. Yeah, he did a pretty good job in this movie.
What I actually like about that whole bit when he's trying to act like somebody else, there are a few moments when he kind of drops the act for a moment because he's trying to put on, like, I got this voice, but then it eventually just kind of fades because he can't make it work with certain phrases that he's trying to use, but then he goes right back into it.
So he's trying to figure out, I think he's trying to figure out what to say at the same time, and you can kind of see him breaking character as Deckard. Breaking the character he's created, the inspector guy, to be Deckard and try and...
But I think it works because his character is doing that very much on the fly. It's not...
Oh, it works.
So
I'm not knocking it. I'm not saying it doesn't work within the scene. I'm saying
I think it sells the scene.
It does.
Because it makes him very human.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And you can just see the gears in his brain turning like, okay, well, what the hell am I supposed to do? Okay, yeah, I got it. Yeah. There we go.
I really like Rutger Hauer.
Yeah.
I like Batty, I believe.
Roy Batty, yeah.
Roy Batty.
I thought the cast was really good. I wasn't sure about the dude with the cane. I'm not.
Oh,
I feel
Edward
like
James Olmos. I believe he's a Blade Runner. Is he not?
Yes,
he is. But
yeah.
I just feel like he never really established himself as a. I don't know. At the end, he ended up being kind of a threatening presence.
Not really.
Well, yeah, because he left his calling card right outside.
No, it was meant to imply that he was I think it was meant to imply that he was like looking out for him, like he was kind of a friend.
Yeah, okay, I mean it's very ambiguous. I could see it go either way. He was definitely at Deckard's place. He could have taken Rachel out if he wanted to,
but didn't.
But decided not to.
That's fair.
It's more that maybe he's watching.
Yeah.
More that he knows.
But like at the end,
I didn't finish her off, but like at some point, someone else
will, yeah.
Because I could take it as he went to Deckard's place knowing that's where Rachel was. Could have killed her, but decided not to. Left behind his little calling card and said, "Okay, I chose not to do this, but you go live your life. You probably only can have like a couple years, but why would I take that away from you? And you go do your thing." Just don't come back, kind of like.
Well, but it's not even necessarily just a couple years because she was unique in the fact that she didn't have a defined expiration date.
Mm-hmm. But Gaff did not know that.
Yes,
that was a point that the narration makes.
Okay.
That Gaff was not aware. The only person who knew that was Deckard.
Okay.
And Tyrell.
Well, yeah, but he's dead. So.
Yes.
Yeah, he big dead. Guy's eyeballs
crushed him.
He got Oberyn Martell.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
R.I.P.
Mm-hmm.
Man got too cocky. And
there was now I want to talk about the Deckard is a replicant theory. Why? Like, there's not really a lot that I get from the theatrical version that implies to me that Deckard is a replicant. Why does that?
I think it's just the idea of it takes one to know one. He is an expert at
like hunting them down.
Yes, hunting them down, identifying them through his little test. So, if he's the best at administering the test, maybe it's because he can think like they can.
Yeah.
Because
but it's a well-established test among.
I agree.
Well, it's not just.
I think the theory
test,
itself
though.
is a stretch. I'm just saying. I think it comes from it takes one to know one.
The theory comes from the later versions of the movie that imply that he's a replicant.
Yeah, there are some extra bits that imply that, but the bit with the unicorn, so like you remember the part where he's tapping on the piano, there's like an extra scene that was cut out of the movie where he's sitting there and it cuts to a different angle, and then it cuts suddenly, very jarringly so, to what looks like a pale unicorn running through the woods.
Yes.
Which I believe is widely accepted as leftover footage from the movie Legend, which Ridley Scott had made a year prior.
Mm-hmm.
And, that movie has a unicorn in it and everything. So people probably assume that, like, oh, well, he just got it mixed up or whatever. But I think there are, like, the naysayers to it. The people say, oh, that's bullshit. Believe that it's from a different movie. And it has nothing to do with Blade Runner, and I kind of agree with that because it just doesn't make any sense at all.
I think the other point that I would make is like if you are a chief of a police force that is trying to hunt down these replicants through a test, would you not have all of your people take the test also just to be safe?
Yeah,
I feel like that would be the implication to me. Because. Just like you have to take, before you become a cop, you got to take all kinds of psychological evaluations.
Yeah.
At least before you become a serious cop. Maybe not.
I guess maybe.
Cop. Sure. But if you're going to be a specialized detective in something, they're not going to just let Joe Schmo. I mean, you're going to be evaluated to make sure that you are at least mostly well in the head. So if they're going to be administering this test, I would think they would administer that test on their own as well.
Yeah.
I guess. And maybe it could be one of those things where people are drawing that theory from when Rachel asks if he's ever taken the test himself.
Yes, that's
he ignores her. He's not sleeping. He ignores her.
What a lot of people point to who believe that theory is that moment, and then also there's another moment between them where I think you point out, like, why are their eyes glowing like that? Well, it was just a very intentional way that they lit the scenes. But
Right.
for the most part, you only see that eye glow effect on people who are replicants, but that's not always the case.
Right.
Like, that happens
Well, it was
with
a very good way.
several characters who
It
are
was a
not
very
replicants.
good way of saying, like, these are the replicants without having a character say, you're a replicant, or anything
Yeah, it's,
like,
it's
you know
a
what
visual indicator. But, like, a lot of people say, oh, well, his eyes glow in this scene.
Freeze, replicant.
But
Or anything
there,
like
there are
that.
several moments throughout the movie where you can see that happening to other actors as well, and they're not replicants, you know, because then otherwise, like, almost everybody at some point would be identified.
I would see more reason in that if it was more consistent across only replicants, like you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
So that, in my opinion, that theory just doesn't work.
Yeah, and plus to do that, they had a very certain like lighting scheme that would get that effect if you looked in a specific direction relative to where the light was, and you like if you had your camera at just the right angle, you could get that. And it just so happened that both actors were in like that same plane, and you could get that effect on both of them, which may not have been intentional.
Yeah.
Like they may have intended for only replicants to have that glowy effect, but
I think it's much
you
more
know.
obvious on the people who are replicants. Though.
Yes,
They didn't
like
try
you
to
can-
hide it. or
Yeah, you
anything
can
like
you can
that.
tell. Like the most obvious one is like the owl. They have that because you can even see his pupil dilating a little bit.
I think maybe accomplishing only putting it on the replicants and implying replicant through that visual trick would be a lot easier with CGI.
I mean,
I
there
think
are other methods you can use.
I think
to,
it would allow for that to be more.
I think it would
clearly-
have been a difficult thing to do with CGI in the 80s.
Oh no, I'm saying now you could
Yeah.
do that, but then you were very limited in what you could do via having this whole, like the whole world being completely miniatured and whatnot. Like you had to do that stuff. Now I'm not knocking that it being a miniature. I'm saying
No, it was good.
you can't just cover everything in CGI like you do now.
Yeah, different time.
In
different
good
time.
CGI relatively in most movies, but you could do a lot more. I feel like the mind of Ridley Scott could do a lot more with really good CGI now.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I would say look at like Prometheus.
Oh, absolutely. As much as that movie is
It's like
a mess.
Yeah, but the visuals are amazing.
The visuals are stunning.
Mm-hmm.
Stunning. That scene where the ship is falling down and she's running.
And doesn't run perpendicular.
It doesn't
to
run
the ship.
perpendicular. She just runs along the line because she's probably scared and doesn't realize she's running with it. That shot is fantastic.
Yes.
And granted, it is fucking definitely all CGI.
Mm-hmm. No, they actually killed Charlize
They
Theron
actually-
for that movie.
Was that Charlize Theron or was that?
She's the one who gets crushed. Yeah. And then Noomi Rapace is the...
I was thinking it was Noomi Rapace that was running.
Well, they were both running, but Charlize Theron is the one who is crushed.
She gets.
She also gets the most shit because of that.
She gets splatted.
Yeah.
I like this movie. I like Blade Runner.
See, the interesting thing is there's, I guess, 7 versions of it, so I'm sure there's a version of it out there for everybody.
I just like the movie. I
Yeah.
think I could watch every version of it and be like, okay,
Yeah.
I like it still.
I would recommend watching the final cut.
So, what are we all thinking of the Chub review? Chub rating.
The Chub judgment.
I'm sitting on a full chubby.
Full Chub
I'm
for
max,
Blade Runner?
max torque for Blade Runner.
Yeah.
I love
Isaac?
this movie.
I'll give it a half Chub.
Half Chub?
Half Chub. It's like watching a fat girl at the strip club. Sparks the imagination, but doesn't quite get the job done.
Okay.
Okay.
Question: Is a half Chub half hard or half soft?
Is the glass half empty or half full?
Exactly.
I mean, I would argue
It'd be
it's
more
half full.
It'd be more half
because
soft
you're-
because a chub is.
But what
Not
if you're coming
fully
down?
erect.
What if you're coming down though? It doesn't just go. It doesn't just. It's like it's a process.
Yeah, but you could
Yeah.
be coming up. What if you're coming up?
We're gonna have to cut this.
That's what I'm saying.
It's gonna be.
It's a philosophical question.
We don't have to cut this. We don't have to cut this. We'll put this in.
This has gone way too far
Alright,
off the rails.
alright.
I'm giving it a full chub. I love Blade Runner. I love the world of Blade Runner. Emma's over there giving it a thumbs down. We're not Roger Ebert. We do not give thumbs.
Absolutely nothing at all.
We knew this
They don't
movie
even
wasn't
have
for you.
Nothing.
This movie was not meant for you. You're even more of a casual movie viewer than Isaac is. He actually has some like good points.
Parry this.
What point would you like? What do you think?
Do you have? Would you like to contribute to our discussion?
Would you like to add?
How much she wants Harrison Ford?
The
Yes.
best part was the unibrow.
Oh, Rachel's
That was
unibrow.
on Rachel.
She didn't have a unibrow.
I didn't catch the unibrow either.
She was looking
It was
bad.
a little.
She's cute, dude.
It's just a
No,
shadow.
she was definitely looking good in this one compared to
Finkel and Einhorn. Einhorn is a man.
Einhorn, yeah.
Spoiler alert for Ace
Other
Ventura.
than that, I
I've
did
seen
not like
Detective.
I've seen that movie.
I thought it was
It's been a long
slow.
time, but I've seen it.
That is all I have to say.
Well, that was Chubby number 1. Thanks for watching.
Next week on the Chub.
It
We
gets
haven't decided.
real hard.
Nothing.
Next week on the Chub, we're reviewing Blade Runner 2049 and
Cyberpunk.
talking about Cyberpunk 2077.
As well as a breakdown of the season finale of
As well as more Mandalorian.
Duh.
And potentially more discussion about Star Wars, because we can't seem to shut up about it.
No. It's a can of worms that we just need to open.
It's very
and
topical.
We just need to open it, go for it, and then get it out of our systems.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Yep.
I think once Mandalorian's over, we'll cool off a little bit.
Well,
Because
there won't be anything.
There won't be anything to talk about.
Just our ruined hopes and dreams.
All speculation about where Star Wars should go but won't go.
Yeah.
Or should have gone but didn't.
Or should have gone but didn't.
Also, are we going to do the
Next
holiday
week-
special?
Oh, what were we going to call it?
A very chubby Christmas.
A
Very
chubby
chubby
Christmas.
Christmas. Are we going to do the holiday special?
Yes.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, we're going to
I
watch...
don't think you're prepared for how much of an abomination
We are going to
that
watch
is.
the Star
I'm
Wars holiday
prepared.
special for our Christmas episode. A Very Chubby Christmas will be out around Christmas time.
Yes.
Theoretically.
Theoretically, if we can get it filmed. I guess it'll be probably a week after Christmas.
We'll pretend like we
recorded.
actually recorded it around Christmas time.
We'll have Christmas stuff on
I'll bring a Santa hat.
as much as I have. I don't have any Christmas stuff.
Because we have to follow up with Blade Runner 2049,
we gotta
Emma.
do Blade Runner.
So if you want
So yeah, thanks for watching. Isaac's leaving already. Thanks for listening. Chubby number 1 is done.
Rock
It's more
hard.
like chubby 1.5, but you guys don't know that.
Yeah. Yeah.